How is everyone? I love all of the signs. This is amazing. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Madeline Olsen, and I am honored to be your MC for today. Thank you. According to the Washington Post, 187,000 students have been directly affected by a school shooting. But every student in the country right now has been indirectly affected by school shootings and what is currently going on around the country. I am one of those students who has sadly been directly affected by gun violence in schools. I was a freshman almost 3 years ago when a fellow student began shooting in the Commons at North Thurston High School. I'll never forget the fear I felt as I was crouching in a corner, hiding in my first period French class with my terrified teachers and fellow students. I'll never forget the sound of my mom's voice when I called her, told her I loved her, and that there was someone shooting a gun in school. My schoolmates and I should never have had to go through something like this. No student should ever have to go through something like this. We deserve to attend school every day and to have our biggest worry be whether or not we're going to pass our biology test. We shouldn't have to worry about this. But the decision makers in our society are forcing us to have to worry about this. And so we will. They are forcing us to take action. And so we will. And that is why I am so happy to be here with all of you today. We would like to thank Rod for making the awesome buttons that we've been able to give to all of you. We would like to thank Jamie at Sherwood Press for making the postcards. We'd like to thank Pipe and League of Women Voters for sponsoring us, and everyone else who has donated money to make this march happen. And finally, and this is the biggest thanks I'm giving today, is my co-planners and our speakers for today. It takes a lot of people to make this happen, and we made it happen, guys. Yes. Now for the fun part, on to our speakers. We're going to keep our speeches brief but full of important subjects. So first up, we have Haley, a sophomore from Olympia High School.
Woo! You guys ready?
Yes.
This is very exciting. This is very exciting. Is this a moment or is this a movement? 1865. The 13th Amendment, abolishing slavery in our country forever, was passed. This was a movement. 1870. The 15th Amendment, giving all male citizens the right to vote, regardless of race, in our country, was passed. This was a movement. 1920. The 19th Amendment, giving all women the right to vote in our country, was passed. This was a movement. 2018, the year we end gun violence in our country. Could this be our movement? The school year of 2016-2017 was the first time I ever had to physically practice a school shooting drill. We were told to dive into the closest room, exit the building if necessary, run off the property if in danger. I remember the alarms blaring, lights flashing, voices over the intercom assuring us that this was indeed an intended drill. Nevertheless, I was scared. This could happen to anybody. I could be shot the next day at school. Suddenly, seeking an education became a danger. The reality that a school shooting was a plausible and very real possibility did not sink in until February 14th, 2018, the day of the Parkland Massacre. My God family lives in Coral Springs, the very neighborhood of the shooting. If my two God sisters were just a few years older, this would have been the public school they would have attended. One of the Parkland victims was hiding in a closet during the shooting. She was texting her mom, telling her that if she didn't make it out, she didn't survive, she just wanted her mom to know how much she loved her. These ended up being her final words. I imagine getting these texts from my 9-year-old sister or my 12-year-old brother, knowing they can hear shooting and screaming right outside the door, and knowing the end is near, and me being unable to do anything, probably not receiving the messages until their lives were ended. Another victim's parents heard about the school shooting early on and immediately tried to call their little girl. She picked up, but she couldn't say anything. She happened to be lying there on the ground, bleeding out, unable to say goodbye to her mom and dad on the other line, who was shouting her name and begging her to respond. This could easily have been my god sisters. This could easily have been my siblings, the lights of my life. This could easily have been me. Those alarm lights I see during a drill could be the last thing ever to penetrate my vision. The Second Amendment declares that a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. This is the debate against gun violence. Our founding fathers wrote down in ink that American citizens have the right to bear arms. Here's my counter-argument. Article 5 of the Constitution states that the Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution. Yeah. We have evolved exponentially since the Second Amendment was written. Without this article declaring that amendments can be added, changed, or eradicated, I would still be considered property. My peers, who happen to be a minority, would not be able to vote. Hello? As society grows, laws must grow, must expand, and must adjust. The Second Amendment was written in 1791, before a trained and set up military, before handguns and assault rifles, before the inventions of tanks or nuclear bombs. I agree we deserve the right to protect ourselves, but does that mean supplying everyone with nuclear bombs? With tanks? Where do we draw the line? And if you really want to follow the Second Amendment to the T, then I will gladly help you hand in your weapons in exchange for the muskets our founding fathers had. I am not opposed to registered, trained, tested, and trusted gun owners. I'm opposed to those buying guns of mass murder, those possibly unstable, those who have not gone through background checks, and those who have no training. I am opposed to the slack laws that have allowed US to support one of the highest gun violence rates in the world. Why is the right to bear arms the Second Amendment? And why is abolishing slavery, allowing all men of color to vote, and allowing women their rights the 13th, 15th, and 19th Amendments? Where's America's priorities? Is your right to own an unregistered weapon of mass slaughter more important than my right to a future? No. Is the Second Amendment really 17 amendments more important than my right to an education? No. The Second Amendment, the flimsy gun regulation laws, are destroying my amendments and my peers' amendments to a safe education. I have the opportunity to stand here and use my voice because of the 19th Amendment. I get an education because of the 19th Amendment. I have the right to vote because of the 19th Amendment. And now I am using my 19th Amendment rights to make sure they never again come as an afterthought to the Second Amendment. I march, I rally, I fight, because women I will never know marched, rallied, and fought so I could have the chance to seek an education. My generation deserves the right to safe schooling. My ancestors did not create a movement over 170 years ago for students to feel unsafe in schools. My amendment to freedom may have came after your rights to own unregistered, unlicensed assault weapons, but I'll be damned if any education is going to come second to school shootings. So I'll ask you again, is this a moment or is this a movement? Thank you.
Wow, okay, that was really good. Thank you so much, Haley. Now we have Josie, a freshman from Avanti High School.
We are taught that violence is normal and necessary, but it is time for all of us to wake up and start questioning these messages. Media is a major method that we spread these ideas. Movies glamorize shooting people and blowing things up. We need to wake up and question the normalization and the glamorization. A major genre of video games is first-person shooter games, which desensitize people to cruelty and murder. We need to wake up and question the mindset we are expected to have. So many teen novels and movies are based around violent and disturbing themes. The Hunger Games is about children killing each other while privileged adults watch for entertainment and to make money, which is also an example of ageism and classism. And most of these stories don't acknowledge that revolutions and big changes can happen without violence. There are 4 times more violent acts in children's cartoons than in adult programming. Wake up and question the way we are raising our kids.
Yes.
We have all learned these messages, and because we enjoy these things doesn't mean we are bad people. But this mass acceptance that violence is normal and okay is disturbing, unacceptable, and dangerous. We also need to wake up and see how oppression plays into this. Sexism is a huge part of this issue. A lot of these messages about violence are aimed toward boys and men. Jennifer Wright said, "We live in a culture that worships men with guns," and continue to reference people like John Wayne, Indiana Jones, and James Bond, but the list goes on. Wake up and question the standards we are setting. We teach men that they have to be aggressive and tough to be manly enough and to be real, invalidating expressions of self and emotions. Wake up and question the lies that you have internalized. Wake up and question the messages you are being fed. Wake up and question who we are listening to, including our leaders. Wake up and question who we are giving guns. Wake up, people are being murdered. Let's wake up. Let's all wake up and question the bullshit.
I have to agree with Josie. Let's wake up and question this bullshit that we're living in right now. Thank you, Josie. And next up we have Cardell, a senior from Olympia High School.
How's everyone doing today?
All right.
I hope that with each minute spent today, an attempt to change our community and even the world, that we do it in such a manner that we respect all around us. I'm aware that it is nearly impossible to please everyone, that it is not what I'm here for. I'm here to speak for those young people who live their everyday life in fear. Whether that fear comes when you step into a school or when you step out of one, it must be addressed. Because while I certainly do not want to invalidate nor disrespect those whose lives were lost in the Parkland shooting, there's no denying that their situation is being handled in a completely different manner. I admire the Parkland survivors for their courageous actions of standing their ground and not letting the world know that these tragic events will come to an end now.
Yes.
But I also question some things. Why was the community of Cleveland, Ohio not given the same voice when 12-year-old Tamir Rice was killed within 2 seconds of police arrival? Why was the LGBT community of Orlando, Florida not given the same voice when 49 people were killed at the post-night? You see, we must begin to not only fight for ourselves, but for all around us. It is my hope that after this tragic event at Parkland, that it will not only open our eyes to fix the issue with guns in America, but to hopefully bring us all together and fix any problem that we may overcome. You see, racism is not a racism is a human fight, not a minority fight. Gender equality is a human fight, not a woman's fight. The March for Our Lives is a human fight, not a student fight. We must quit living our life in selfish behaviors where we only feel the need to speak on what we identify as.
Yes.
Be open to hearing opposing sides. Be open to educate yourself on identities that may not pertain to you, not for the reason to become smarter, but to help develop yourself as a human that can help all companions around them. And so to all the young people out here today, this is your future. This is your child's future, and this is your children's future. Never be afraid to speak out. Though we may at times seem so small in this world, you never know whose life you may change with a few sentences. Every single one of you here today mattered to me, and I love you all. We must do all that we can to protect the lives of our children today. You are the future and you matter.
Yes.
In the wise words of Mr. Tupac Shakur, death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss in life is what dies inside while we are still alive. You will all be heard. Never surrender. Thank you.
Next up, we have Katrina, an 8th grader from Reeves Middle School.
Gandhi once said, "You must be the change you wish to see in the world." That quote is very meaningful to me because nothing happens when you sit around hoping that change will come. If you want something to change, you need to take that into your own hands. You sometimes have to step outside of your comfort zone and in order to do so, like I'm doing right now.
Good job.
My name is Katrina Tyler. I am a student at Reeves Middle School and want to thank you all so much for coming out today. As a student, hearing about all the mass shootings, many of which take place at schools, is scary and extremely disturbing. They continue happening all over the country, and I can't help thinking, when will it happen here? Possibly to me. We should not have to be worried about our safety at school, or anywhere for that matter.
Yeah, that's right.
It is so inspiring to see all the students from Parkland standing up and speaking out about gun violence. They have encouraged people all over the world to do the same. It makes me sad to see that people would rather protect their guns than children. It's time for us to stand up for ourselves in a time when many of our politicians seem as though they couldn't care less.
Woo!
In my 8th grade social studies class, we have been learning about the Constitution. My teacher had us all memorize the preamble, and in it, it says, "Promote the general welfare," which to me means helping to ensure that all citizens are safe and taken care of. Not passing gun control laws is allowing these tragedies to continue happening, which harms the general welfare of our citizens and makes us feel scared and unsafe. You may feel there is nothing you can do about it, but you've already done something by showing up today. So thank you again. I have already written to, emailed, and talked with legislators about these issues and how they can make changes, and so can you. You can start today by writing a postcard to our legislators at the booth we have in Sylvester Park at the end of the march. We're all here because this affects all of us. I believe that if we, especially students, continue our efforts, it will show them that we will have no more silence and will end gun violence. Thank you.
Thank you, Katrina. Now we have Ellie, a senior from Black Hills High School.
Many here may look at me and think she's just a child. How could she possibly understand the ramifications of gun control? What people don't realize is that I am exactly who you should hear from. I am a child in a public school, which makes me the ideal person to hear from. On Friday, February 2nd, my high school went into a lockdown. As students, we did not know why. Suddenly, worrying about my AP government test became a lot less important, and my focus became worrying about whether there was an active shooter on campus. Fearing for my classmates and my own safety was the only thing that mattered. The panic that we students felt was real. The panic that our parents felt was real. We were fortunate enough that there wasn't an active shooter that day, but we live with the reality that any day it could happen. But gun violence isn't just a problem at schools. It's a problem everywhere. I fear for the law enforcement officers, like my dad, who work to keep our communities safe, yet face the threat of gun violence every day. I fear for the families that want to go to a concert with their children, but hesitate because there's an uncertainty that they could be in the next mass shooting. I fear for the young couple who finally has a date night and goes to a movie, yet is so focused on their safety that they are unable to enjoy their night out. I spend a lot of time thinking about how I can solve the problem of gun violence, but there's only so much I can do. After all, I'm just a child. Lawmakers, however, have the power to make a difference and to prevent these tragedies from happening. I stand before you today with hope. Hope that this is where the violence stops. Hope that this is where the fear in our schools vanish. Hope that this is where our voices are loud enough, strong enough, and terrified enough for our government to understand how big this issue really is. A resolution to this problem may not come today, it may not come tomorrow, but it will come someday. So listen up, lawmakers. I'm coming for your job. And my legacy will be that I was not afraid to stand up and say, enough. Thank you.
Thank you for sticking with us so far. We do have our final speaker. Our final speaker today happens to be my personal favorite. I may be a little biased. He is the teacher at North Thurston High School who tackled the gunman on April 27, 2015. Please welcome my dad, Mr. Brady Olsen.
I hear a lot of times where they say education is struggling. I don't know if you heard the last meeting. I don't think there's a problem in my opinion. Good morning. My name is Brady. I'm a history, government, and civics teacher, and I'm a nerd who knows a lot about history, a lot about government, and a lot about civics. And I know that our American history is filled with stories of courageous young people, just like you guys out here, standing up against impossible odds to make a change in our society when things are going down the wrong path. There is no doubt that our society is going down the wrong path. And we need you, these people right here and all over here, to keep us in this fight to get us on the right path. There are so many reasons why I'm putting my faith in you young people to lead us down this revolutionary path. The main reason, though, that I'm trusting you to continue to lead this fight is that I know how damn persistent teenagers can be. When you want something, you go for it with all your heart. I know you want this because I talk to kids like you guys every day. You want to go to school every day without fear of someone shooting up your school, a place of community and safety, while you're just trying to get an education. You want the adults who should know better to take a stand for what they know is right. Just like they teach you to do. You want legislators to choose you, a child, over a donation from a gun lobbyist. You want them to show that they know your worth by saying no to young people being allowed to purchase assault-style, made-for-war weapons. I know you want these things, so I know you will remain vigilant and persistent in this fight. Now, like I said, I'm a teacher, So here's your assignment. 1, as soon as you turn 18, vote! Your one vote matters. 2, contact your legislators. When they hear from large groups of people, especially young voters, they really listen. Their jobs depend on it. And by the way, half of the Senate seats are up for re-election in November, and all the House seats are up in the state of Washington. No election I can remember could be more impacted than this one. Just saying. 3, continue to go to marches, rallies, and town halls. Continue to speak out. When we come together like we have today, it helps a movement gain momentum. You make contacts and build camaraderie, and it's good for the soul.
Yeah.
Now, just for 1 second, let me talk to my fellow old people really fast. Let me hear you, old people. I wish I could share with you all of the conversations I have every day with kids about the struggles they're facing as teens. Of course, there's typical teenage issues that you and I back in the olden days had to face, but these kids now carry burdens on their shoulders that we never had to.
It's true.
They carry this gun burden on their shoulders, and that is the fault of our society's collective inaction on the gun and safety issue. This is a public health crisis, and that's not fair to them. We need to walk side by side with them in this fight. We need to help them register to vote. We need to support them at rallies like this. We need to help them contact their legislators. We need to work with them and for them to get this burden off their backs. We owe it to them.
Right.
In closing, I'd like to highlight how this movement has already made a difference and is evidence that your voice and actions matter. Look at what has happened with Walmart, Dick's Sporting Goods, Kroger Fred Meyer, LLP, Delta Airlines. And the list continues to grow. They changed their policies around guns, and they did that because of this moment in our history. Your moment. I know you want this, so let's make it happen. And I am so proud of our young people. So proud. Thank you.
He's a little taller than me, sorry. I just want to say thank you to all of our speakers, and thank you to all of you for coming out. As someone who planned this march, I'm going to tell you honestly, we didn't expect this many people, so this is amazing. It's great to see all the young children we have here. To some, I'm not going to say old, but to some of the more wiser people we have out here. I love seeing all the familiar faces out here, and I just want to say, as someone who's been through what we're talking about, thank you for coming out from the bottom of my heart. Together, let's stick with this fight and not let it get pushed aside and under the rug. Let's stick for this fight in the long haul and make this our moment in history, right here, right now. Now, for the part you've all been waiting for, we will begin to make our way down to Sylvester Park. The march will be led by students who will be holding a banner that says March for Our Lives, Washington State. If you are a student and you want to show your support, go over there right now and stand with all the students in solidarity that enough is enough and show your support. As we let our students make their way down there, I once again want to thank you for coming out today. I hope you enjoyed yourselves.